Oh, Mike Newmeyer again. This is part two of planning for retirement and preparing for a downturn in the economy, which is almost certain to come in 2023. So I covered the first half of the presentation just a little while ago. This is part two. Okay. And I think the last thing we talked about was knowing what your interest is paid, what interest is paid. And then we also talked about rainy day funds. So if you remember that, we're going to go from there now. Okay, and you need to know what your employer benefits are. You need to know those. Very, very, very important. And if you're over 65, you also need to know what new Medicare benefits are now available. Medicare Advantage is a wonderful plan. You need to know whether you've got Medicare Advantage. You need to know who offers Medicare Advantage. You know, I use Kaiser with Medicare Advantage myself. I like it a lot. But there's other plans and other likes and so forth and so on. Okay, going back to your employer plans, can you roll over your balances before you retire? Very important. You know, for instance, we have products right now that are giving 20% bonuses. 20% bonuses, okay, on the money that's going to go into it, and that continues to grow thereafter. And if you start at income, the income has a chance to grow also. So talk to me about how you take advantage of those things. You need to find out whether or not you can roll it over, whether you can do in-service distributions, which means you can take money out of your plan early before you retire while you're still working. And then of course rolling over the plan completely will also help you. So we need to know those things. Those are that's your homework. Find those kinds of things out. Okay, and then what about estate planning? What about estate? Let me give you one idea for starters. If you know that you're going to leave your residence, your home, to a son, a daughter, whoever, you know, and then you could do a life estate deed. A life estate deed, I'm not a lawyer, so you talk to your lawyer. But if you do a life estate deed, they cannot take possession of the house until you pass. And then it automatically becomes theirs. That's a wonderful thing because, you know, it bypasses probate and it gives them the residence very simply through operation of law. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. But don't put their name on a joint account. In other words, don't make the property jointly owned. You want to use a life estate deed, which does not give them access before you pass. Very, very important. Okay, that's something to be aware of. Okay? And the other thing about real estate is if you and your spouse own it, okay, this is something you want to keep in mind. You want to keep in mind putting that property into a title that says joint tenants by the entirety. That's a big deal. Joint tenants by the entirety is not something offered in many states, but it is offered in Maryland. What does it do for you? Let us say you have a liability. Let us say you are in a car, and there's a very bad accident and there's a fatality involved, and you are responsible for something like that. They can take you to court. Probably they can take most of your assets, but they cannot take your house because it's joint tenants by the entirety. So that means that you're protected on that residence. It's a very important thing. The only time they could actually take it would be if both of you, your husband, your wife and your husband, you know, whatever, if they are both responsible for whatever happened, then you could be liable to lose your home, but not if only one person is responsible. It's a big deal. Joint tenants by the entirety. You can take that up with your estate attorney. You can talk to a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer, so I'm just passing this idea on to you for information purposes. And let's see. Can you roll over? Yeah, that's estate attorney. You need to get things like trusts and wills and things like that done. People say, oh, I did that 5 years ago. You need to review it. You need to review it like every 3 years to find out if there's changes that need to be made, if there's laws that have changed. You need to protect yourself and your heirs. You need to know what the story is. Now, on the annuities, it's very interesting because you have heirs. You have heirs to inherit those. And if you have a wife or a husband, you can set those up where they continue to get all the income that you have been getting. for their life. That's quite an important thing. We set all annuities up that way. If there's a husband and wife involved, we make sure that the other party is completely covered for lifetime for their life. That's a very important thing. And if it's going to go to somebody else, of course, you've got the beneficiary set up. So that's also a very important thing. There aren't a lot of courts that'll break annuities, from what I'm told. Pretty much, judgment proof. Can't guarantee it. Got to talk to an attorney. But judgment proof has been something we've been saying about these annuities for many years. Okay, so that's that. And then a comprehensive financial plan, that I can help you with. If you don't have one, come and see me. And do you have anything that provides all your accounts written down in one place, so that if something happened, that person that's going to be responsible for your accounts has access to them? We provide that kind of a book to record these things into all our clients. So, come see me, Mike Newmeyer, 410-902-0464, right here in Owings Mills, and I'll help you with all of these things, okay? Now, how much time we got? We have maybe 5 minutes. Okay, I'm now going to talk about how you create a financial statement. And this is something that you really need to do. If you come and see me, I'll give you the forms. But I'm going to run over it pretty fast because I've got 5 minutes to do it. Now remember that net worth is assets minus liabilities. That's net worth. Assets minus liabilities. So assets, what does that include? Well, let me give you some ideas. It includes cash, of course. It includes checking and savings accounts. It includes money market accounts. It includes CDs and anything else you've got, including, of course, annuities and so forth. So it includes all investments, mutual funds, stocks, bonds, annuities, all annuities, U.S. government securities, and so forth, T-bills, tangible assets like jewelry and so forth. And you don't overestimate the value of those. You try to keep that in a very conservative number. And then retirement accounts, 401ks, 403bs, IRAs and Roth IRAs, and anything else that you might have. If you have a tax shelter, if you have a tax sheltered annuity, if you have TSP with the federal government, anything like any retirement plan at all. If you have a SEP, if you're self-employed and you've got a SEP, then obviously all those kinds of things. And then real estate with the current market value, and be conservative about that. Personal residence, rental real estate, a vacation home, a farm, any real estate would be part of your net worth. So you want to be part of your assets. Life insurance cash values. If you have whole life, or if you have universal life, anything that's got a cash value in it is considered an asset. And to some extent, term life is also. So we'll help you work all that through. Personal property, household items. You have to think of household items at a much reduced cost from price than from what you paid for them, because that's just the way that is. Automobiles, not what you paid for. What's the market value of those things? And boats and anything else, any kind of valuables that are tangible values. And then if you have a business, what's the business practice worth? What's it worth? That's a harder one to figure out. But what is it worth? Is it only worth the client or customer names and the lists and so forth? Or is there goodwill involved? Or is there physical assets involved and so forth? And then miscellaneous, loans receivable, money you're going to get from loans that you made to other people. That's an asset. Okay, so as long as you're the owner. Now, what about liabilities? I'm going to do this pretty fast because we have only a few minutes left. On the liabilities side, now you would have totaled all your assets. So pretend the assets are $800,000 or $1 million or whatever it is. That would be your assets. Now, what about liabilities? So consumer debt, all your credit card balances, your car loans, your personal loans that you're borrowing from other people, credit lines you use part of that money, and anything else that you owe is part of your consumer debt. Long-term debts would be mortgages, real estate mortgages on any and all real estate, student loans, if you've got some liability for student loans, and miscellaneous loans from life insurance policies and so forth, current income taxes that you're going to be responsible for, and anything else that comes under, debt, what you owe, anything like that. So then you total all your liabilities and you subtract them from your assets. So if you had $1 million in assets and $200 in liabilities, what do you have? You have $800,000 in net worth. That's a very important thing to be aware of. Very important thing to be aware of. Remember, your liabilities, you're always going to have to pay. You're going to always have to pay. Your assets, you can sell your assets, you can borrow against your assets, you can do various kinds of things. So you need to know what the assets are. You need to know what the liabilities are. You need to subtract the liabilities from the assets, and you got your net worth. And that completes this section, and we'll be back with the next section soon. Thank you for listening. Look forward to hearing from you. 410-902-0464.